Welcome to episode 98 of I Thought I Knew How, a podcast about knitting and life and all sorts. I'm your host, Anne Frost, and this episode was recorded on April 1st, 2023. That is not a prank. I'm recording on April Fool's Day well ahead of when this will air, but needs must. I'll explain that later. Today I have a bit of a list of things I'd like to talk about, and we'll have some songs along the way. Let's get started. A great big thank you to my patrons who support the podcast over at patreon.com/IThoughtIKnewHow. Patrons receive certain benefits for their support. One benefit they all receive is a version of the show without the mid-episode ads that they get as soon as I finish getting it edited. In this case, they should be getting the show about a week early, lucky them. If you are interested in helping produce the show and curious about some of the other possible benefits, hop over to patreon.com/IThoughtIKnewHow. It's been a while since I did an episode where I just shared about things I've been up to and did some reviews and such, so I thought it would be nice to just have a little chat, albeit a one-sided chat, about what I've been up to. The first thing I want to talk about is my new spinning wheel. This is going to really just be me talking about my experience of getting my wheel and getting started. It's not going to be super informative. I still don't really know what I'm doing. I just want to talk about getting my wheel and getting started. And to be clear, it's not that I have an old spinning wheel sitting around. This is my first spinning wheel, and it just happens to be a new one. I picked it up a little over a month ago after ordering it from Knit New Haven. It's a Shacked Matchless. And my intention with getting this one is that it looked like it would be a good all-around general wheel. I had 3 criteria going into the purchase of my wheel. I wanted it to be a castle-style wheel, meaning the construction of the wheel is stacked rather than having the wheel bit itself off to the side. That was mainly because I wanted the wheel to be as compact as possible, because eventually I hope to have it here in my office. That is going to take me a while to make some space for. But for now, it's in the dining room, which is in the room next door to my office. I have been coming home and throwing things in my office, so there is not room for it in here right now. But I'm hoping when I'm back from Shetland in May, I will get things properly organized again, and it will live in here with me. Anyway, the second thing I wanted was for it to have 2 treadles, simply because from the scant experience I've had with spinning on a wheel, it seems like 2 treadles give you a bit more control and it works both of your legs. Do spinners with single treadle wheels end up with one super fit leg? I'm not trying to be cheeky. I honestly am curious. Anyway, the third thing is that I do not want to end up with 5711 wheels in my house. So I wanted to pick one that had a lot of functionality to it that I can use until it's time to move on from this mortal coil. That might not be how it ends up. I may eventually end up with 5711 wheels, but the only way I can see that happening is if I become independently wealthy and use that wealth to buy a second to house just the wheels. I'm digressing. I got the wheel home and had a bit of assembling to do. It felt like a slightly more complicated IKEA assembly, but the assembly instructions that came with it were really clear, and there was a diagram of the wheel with everything labeled, which was hugely helpful because I still know very little. It took about an hour to get everything put together, and when it was done, I realized I had something that looked very much like a part that was left over. So I turned to Instagram and several of you helped, saying it was the bit that does the scotch tensioning. And upon looking at the assembly pamphlet, I realized I'd accidentally turned 2 pages at once and missed 2 whole pages of the assembly and usage information. But it was sort of the last bit, and I missed enough that I had an otherwise functional wheel just without the scotch tensioning. Anyway, I got that fixed. And I did what all the spinners tell you to do when you're getting started, and that is I practiced treadling. The wheel came with all the metal bits pre-oiled, so I didn't worry about oiling it on this first treadling attempt. And I did pretty well at first. I was able to keep the wheel moving in one direction and stop it, and then started up going again. And I came back to the wheel to practice the next day and realized that it hadn't come with a container of oil. So I got on Amazon and got some ordered, and then that killed my momentum. The oil only took a few days to arrive, but by then I was neck deep in other things, so practicing treadling took a backseat for a while. I did go back to it the other day though and decided after a few days that the time had come to get some wool and get started on actually spinning. The Matchless comes with a bobbin already ready with some pre-spun yarn on it, so I got that threaded through the orifice and got some Rolags that I had prepared myself out of my stash. Now, these Rolags are probably the perfect ones for me to be destroying as I make my first yarn. Again, because I made them myself and I didn't do a very good job preparing the fleece. Because again, I am totally a newbie, beginner, baby spinner who's learning as I go. I've been assured no one has a good first yarn, and these Rolags I prepared are from a fleece that had a lot of vegetable matter that I did not do a good job getting rid of, and it's also a fleece from someone who was learning how to shear, so there are a lot of second cuts that I did not do a good job getting rid of. So by the end of my first session of spinning this actual real fleece, I was surrounded by seeds and briars and tufts of wool, and the bobbin had maybe 5 yards of thin to very thin yarn wound upon it. But that entire first session of spinning was a massive education. I already have a mental checklist of how to prepare the fleece better when I get another one. And as I worked and the yarn broke and the twist traveled back into my hand, I was reminded of the fact that neither of those things should be happening. And I made the changes necessary and I saw immediate improvement. Also, I worked through one Rolag in about 15 minutes when it took me maybe an hour to get that much done with my drop spindle, and the yarn was thinner and more consistent than what I was getting with my drop spindles. So overall, I'm pretty pleased with these clumsy first attempts on my very own wheel with my horribly prepared fleece. I have a lot to learn, and I have a lot of wool in my stash to destroy as I improve, and I'm looking forward to getting better and learning as I go. So 5-star experience, would recommend to a friend. Let's pause for a minute for a song. Maybe you'll get some spinning done while you listen, or some knitting, or some grocery shopping, whatever you're up to. This is Tom Goldstein back on the show, this time with Dawn. Enjoy.
You know you gotta wash away that frown, 'cause there ain't nobody here who's playing around. You gotta get up on your feet and feel the groove. I'll set your body free and start to move. You gotta feel it deep in your bones. Feel it all the way from your head to your toes. Free your mind from all this pointless mess, or it'll fill your mind with all this useless stress. You gotta feel it all tonight. You're gonna see it's alright. We got this good thing going on. We ain't gonna stop moving and dancing till we see the dawn. Spending hours in front of your mirror at home ain't gonna make no difference if you're gonna stand there all alone. You're surrounded by people you love. You fit right in like my hand fits in your glove. If you ever feel so down and out, catch your breath, face your threats and doubts, 'cause nothing in the world could harm you now. You gotta make up your mind and hold on to my arm. You gotta feel it all tonight. You're gonna see it's alright. We got this good thing going on. We ain't gonna stop moving or dancing till we see the dawn. gonna see it's alright. We got this good thing going on. We ain't gonna stop moving or dancing till we see the dawn. Till we see the dawn. 'Cause there ain't no stopping, we ain't gonna stop it. We ain't gonna stop. We ain't gonna stop moving or dancing till we see the dawn.
I have a yarn to tell you about and a pattern I'm working it up into that I'll tell you about too. The yarn is from Knit and Word, and it's dyed by Lore, who local folks may know from Knit New Haven. She was kind enough to send me 2 hanks of her Zemina yarn, which is an Aran weight 3-ply blend of merino, cashmere, and nylon. And sadly, it had to sit on my shelf for a while before I was able to get it on my needles because it feels really lovely. But one positive was that while I was in New Haven to get my spinning wheel, I went ahead and picked up a 3rd color to work with. Ha ha ha. Because why knit in 2 colors when you can knit in 3? 2 would have been plenty for any accessory, I think, but I was in the shop and it became a treat yourself moment. Laura was actually there working while I was there, and she pointed me to a designer who had some great 3-color patterns that would have worked with the yarn. But as we were talking in the store, I was remembering that she had sent me gray and white, and I was picking up red. And the reality was that she'd sent me blue and white, and I was adding red. And the patterns of that one particular designer would have looked like super patriotic if I had done them in those 3 colors. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not against, a red, white, and blue something, obviously, because I bought it. But I wanted something that would read more as an intentional appreciation of the colors as opposed to a patriotic statement. So I did a bit of digging on Ravelry, and I came across the Harriet cowl. Longtime listeners, this is not Harriet's cowl, which was from the Shetland MRI Scanner Appeal fundraising efforts. This is the Harriet cowl, released by Quince & Co. Their version is a slip stitch cowl knit in the round with white, light gray, and a mid gray. It's very subtle, monochromatic, textured looking cowl. And so I thought, hey, let's try that with red, white, and blue. Anyone else feel like they fear color less as you're getting older? Because that's sure where I am. And I'm glad I gave it a go because I absolutely love this so far. I'm about halfway through knitting it. The slip stitching is, of course, bringing the colors into the rows above and below without having to knit more than one color at a time. And because it's mixing the colors that way, there's not bold blocks of red and blue and white. It's actually, it feels like knitting a pile of confetti to wear around your neck. And I'm just loving it. If I end up keeping this for myself, I'll be able to wear it with either my navy or red winter coats, or I can wear it in the fall with my jean jacket, and it's going to look great with any of them. The pattern isn't perfect. The stitch pattern is a 2-stitch repeat, but after starting the ribbing, it has you increase by 1 stitch so that the round is odd. And then you end up starting and ending each round with a knit 1 instead of starting with the knit 1 and ending with the slip stitch. My only thought is that maybe they did that because they thought you'd want 2 knit stitches together to help with weaving in ends, maybe? I honestly don't know. When I realized I was going to get a knit next to a knit as I started and ended the row, I just decreased back down to an even number of stitches and dropped the extra knit 1. The Zemina from Knit and Word is working brilliantly for this project. It's soft and comfy against the skin, and it's maintaining a crisp stitch definition for the slip stitches. The white and red are fairly solidly dyed and consistent in their color, while the blue has a bit of tonality to it, which is adding to the confetti look of the stitch pattern. I suspect that over time this is going to develop a slight halo to it, which I'm totally happy with. Knit and Word has some of the bases you'd expect from a hand dyer, like a mohair silk blend and a BFL nylon blend sock yarn, but she also has a BFL silk blend in both fingering and decay. And the Aran I already mentioned is a merino cashmere nylon, and there's a merino with lurex, so you get a bit of shiny sparkle. Her colors are beautiful. And she makes it really easy to shop her yarns online because rather than just showing the hanks all twisted up, she's created images of the yarn spread out like on the table and then the hanks on top. So the hanks are there opened up in the picture so you can see how long the color transitions are, which I just thought was so helpful. You can find her yarns at Knit New Haven and a few other shops through Connecticut, but she also has her yarn available at knitandword.com, so check her out. Now, normally, as I said at the beginning of the episode when I was thanking my patrons, I would normally cut this bit out for my patrons, but I'm leaving it in today, and I hope you'll have patience with me for that because I have a few updates about my affiliate sponsors, and I wanted to make sure I fill everyone in on that, and I will make this as quick as possible as a result. But first, many thanks to Knit New Haven and Morehouse Farm and the Morehouse Merino Flock Group for their ongoing sponsorship of the podcast. Knit New Haven has more classes popping up. Learn more about them at knitnewhaven.com. And one of the benefits of Morehouse Merino Flock is, in addition to all the knitting help and camaraderie and other help that you get, is that Erin is sure to post photos of the new lambs very soon. Learn more at morehousemerinoflock.com. For these other affiliate sponsors I'm about to mention, I'll have all the links in the show notes, or you can find the links by visiting I Thought I Knew How and clicking the link at the top of the page that says Be a Booster. You have to use one of those links to enter the sites I'm going to tell you about in order for a portion of your purchase to support the podcast. And of course, that bit that they do send on to me is sent at no additional cost to you. First, you know I love Wooland for comfy, high wool content women's clothes. Some of you have been holding out because they are high wool content rather than 100% wool. Well, now they do have some 100% wool options and they are lovely too, so give them another look. Woolen Prints is a new affiliate partnership. They are the men's version of Wooland and have been around longer, so they have all sorts of options there for the men in your life, whether that's a family member, a friend, or yourself. Everything from casual clothing to woven wool dress shirts, underwear to outerwear. Be sure to hop over and see what is available there. My husband's been shopping there since I started the affiliate partnership, and he's been really happy with what he's gotten so far. In addition to Wooland and Woolen Prints, I'm also partnered with Wool X, which carries both men and women's clothing. I would say they are more casual to office casual. But again, they have options from under to outerwear, including a few dresses and lots of workout wear. Drops has been a long-time sponsor. I'm still using their scent-free laundry detergent, but they also have scented varieties and even scent boosters if you'd like to really scent your laundry. They have expanded since their early days to have highly concentrated detergent and pumps, and moved into household products like cleaners and dish sprays and Swedish dishcloths and more. If you haven't been over to check them out in a while, give Drops another look. And finally, the one I'm most excited to tell you about is this new company called Sableflow. So many of us are now working from home, and many of us don't have dedicated workspaces for that, which means that when the family comes home or we have guests over, we have to get everything put away to make room. Sableflow has one solution for that. They make wall-mounted whiteboards that can be folded shut so that they then look like a piece of framed art. They come in 3 sizes and are perfect for everything from shopping lists and menus in your kitchen to tracking projects and homeschooling. You can slip your own print into the frame, or they have hundreds of prints to choose from, ranging from classic works of art to photography to images from space. I got one for my office because I need very visible to-do lists to stay focused, but I want to be able to shut that part of my brain off when I'm not working. So now I'm no longer losing my to-do list papers from my desk. My husband works in architecture and construction and has to track lots of different projects, so he has the large one in his office, which has replaced the giant whiteboard that he had on wheels that was always getting wheeled out of his office into the TV room and things to make room. So I love that he has that. He loves that he has that. We both love them. If you work from home or are looking for a hideable list keeper, check out the link to Sableflow in the show notes. Okay, back to the show. I set a list of goals last Christmas to stay on top of my holiday knitting through the year. And to help me stay on top of that, I asked my phone to create a reminder every 2 months to knit a Christmas present. Now, that was a silly thing to do because this last year, my extended family decided to pull names from a hat, so everyone only has to do one gift. So I no longer need to knit for a dozen people if I want to make something for everyone. I just need to knit one thing, and I won't know what I'm knitting until Thanksgiving. However, that said, I have more than enough things that I want to get knit to use as holiday decorations or just winter decorations. And so when the first reminder popped up in February, I cast on a bright red tree skirt using vintage mohair I found at the thrift store in Wales. I am a little more than halfway through that because, as is often my problem, I am easily distracted by the next project and I moved on to other things. I am about to get my second reminder to start knitting something for the holidays, and you would think it might be wise to just finish off the tree skirt for project 2 since it's kind of a big project. I'll just count it as 2. But no, I will not be doing that. I will be knitting snowflakes with white Aran weight yarn to connect up with one another in a jumbly sort of way to form a table runner to sit on my dining room table that almost no one will see because we host people for Thanksgiving and not for Christmas. Am I a crazy person? Possibly. Have I recently decided that that's just okay and how I function is how I function? Yes. We can turn to organizational gurus and motivational speakers and checklists and guidebooks and inspirational and aspirational internet people and buy organizers and bullet journals and calendars and planning apps and have accountability buddies and whatever else is out there to help us accomplish the things we need or want to do. And any one of those things may have been your magic bullet or how you learn to get things done in your life, and that's fine. But none of those things have worked for me. What has consistently, over time, worked for me in the realm of my knitting life anyway is to cast on a bunch of things, work on them in situations that make sense, get to the point where I feel like I have too much on my needles, and then spend a few weeks getting as many of them done as I can before starting the cycle again. It's madness, but it works. I get a lot knit this way. Many of you love my thoughts from several episodes ago about having a hard project, a just right project, and an easy project on the needles at all times. I do that, but sometimes it's 1 hard, 4 just right, and 3 easy. And then I spend a month going, while I finish off 4 or 5 of them. And I always feel guilty or like an oddball for functioning that way, but I'm not going to anymore. That's a way of knitting that is actually working. So why am I feeling badly about it? Because it's not sitting by a fireplace and serenely knitting one project until it's done? That's just not how my brain works creatively or practically. I am 46 years old. By the time my third reminder about Christmas knitting pops up, I will be 47 years old. I have been trying to embrace others' right way of managing my knitting projects for years now, but I am not going to give another ounce of thought to how I should be plotting out my knitting projects or whether I should feel badly about the pillow cover I started a year ago that is still only half knit. I saw a meme the other day that started with a quote saying something along the lines of "coal under pressure creates a diamond," and a person had replied, "Yes, but dough left to rest rises." With the thought being that we all have different ways of doing things, from keeping house to planning out our knitting projects to finishing off degrees to organizing the company workflow. If we are accomplishing what we need to accomplish, we are being successful. We don't have to do it like someone else would do it. We're all different. We have different stressors and different ways of feeling satisfied with our work. If you are keeping yourself clothed and fed and entertained and have people you love in your life and a way to be creative, then embrace what is getting you there. If not, try something new until things start to click in those directions. We don't all have to work the same or craft the same or value the same things. Just be well. One more song, and then I have a lot to share before we say goodbye this time, so please stay with me until the end. This is another song from Tom Goldstein. It features a ukulele. This is Time and Time Again. I'll be back in a few minutes. Enjoy.
I woke up to the sound of your footsteps. I looked up to the the ceiling above. I knew then it won't get any better. Time and time again, I hope it wouldn't get bitter. That I did nothing wrong, I still call you home. You've been gone for far too long. No, I've got to be strong since you've been gone. I know now I've been a fool going after you. Tell me how you managed to ruin everything for me. And I did nothing wrong, I still call you home. You've been gone for far too long. No, I've got to be strong since you've been gone. Everything seems to be falling apart. It seems to be running away from me, tumbling, fumbling, crumbling down. Since you've been gone, it all seems to be falling apart. It's killing me not knowing that I've done wrong. It's killing me not knowing why you're not coming home.
A few more things before I go. This and the last 2 episodes of the season will release while I am in Shetland for the Mac and Our Way Through Shetland tours. I'm hoping to have the next 2 shows recorded before I leave, and that means 2 things. First, everything will be set to auto post in advance. So if a show doesn't show up when it should in your feed, please remember I will be on a different time zone. So please be patient with me and I'll get it fixed as soon as I can. And second, there is some information I was hoping to fill you in on in this segment of the show during episodes 99 and 100 that I will not be able to because they are still not settled as I'm recording those episodes, even though by the time the shows air, they should be settled. Does that make sense? What this means is that if you want to stay up to date on information about this year's December Yarn Box or want to hear about the 2024 tours as soon as possible, you should do one of 3 things. Join the Facebook group, follow me on Instagram, or get on the mailing list. To get on the mailing list, go to IthoughtIKnewHow.com and scroll down a little way and you'll see a place to enter your information for that. I don't usually use the mailing list. I sent out an email a couple days before I recorded this, and I think that was the last time I'd used it since like May of last year. So you're not going to get spammed by being on the mailing list, but these are big things. So I will be sure to send out information on the mailing list this time when I have more information about those things. Which leads me to the next thing to tell you about, which is I want to give you a few more hints about both the tours and the yarn box. First, the December yarn box will feature a total of 30 25-gram balls of fingering / jumper / 4-ply weight yarn. It's all the same. People call it different things from the different Shetland yarn producers. The price of the box will include the cost of shipping from the UK. The boxes will be mailed from the UK in mid-October, so you will likely receive it in early November, and you need to exert some self-restraint, because we won't start opening them until December 1st. There is one designer involved this year who is designing 2 household items suitable for a comfy spot in your home, a living room, a bedroom, something like that. There will be 2 colorways to choose from, and while I can't show you the exact colors, I can tell you that one colorway will be more springy colors and the other one will be more autumnal colors. And I will post photos on my social media and on the sale page to give you an idea of what the colors are like, though each color in the photo may not be represented in the box and vice versa. I saw the swatches for the project when I was there in February, and I am in love with the Fair Isle patterns the designer created. But if when you open the box you find you don't want to knit the projects, you'll have more than enough yarn from each of the involved makers to knit hats or cowls or gloves instead. The 31st day of the box will include the patterns for both of the projects as well as some of the gifts from the incredible makers based in Shetland and a few small gifts from me. If you are a Shetland local, I'd be happy to swing your box by your house before I leave if you are on the mainland of Shetland. Or you'd be welcome to come by my flat and pick it up. Unfortunately, those of you who are local to me in Connecticut, I will not be able to hand deliver to because the whole point of mailing from the UK is not having to deal with importing the yarn. But the postal service should get it to you. Jana and I are planning on doing the daily vlog through December again, so you'd be welcome to open the boxes along with us. The pricing is still to be determined, though I will say it will likely be a bit higher than last year thanks to inflation. Already some of the yarn producers have had to increase their prices, and that is going to affect the box. Again, to get more information about the boxes, please check the show notes for links to the Facebook, Instagram, and mailing list so you can get the information as it goes out. I hope to begin selling the pre-orders mid-May. It might end up being towards the end of May. Last teaser is the tours for next year. I will have a child away at college and I want to be around for her end of semester exhibitions and such. So the dates are going to be a little different. Jolene is also working very hard to figure out if a couple of new tours we came up with are going to be doable. And we need to finish up this first round of this year's tours. So all of that is to say, I do not have enough definitive information on the 2024 tours yet to share a whole lot. I likely will soon, but I don't think I'll have it before I'm done recording the next 2 episodes. We are hoping to have the tours go live in the summer, so please again watch the Facebook, Instagram, and mailing list. Right, I think that's all I can say for now. If you are heading to Shetland to hang out with me over the next month, if all is well, I'm already there, getting adjusted to the time by the time that this goes live to the wider world, and I cannot wait to get started. I will see you soon. For the rest of you, I will be back in a couple of weeks with another fiber-focused episode. This one has been a long time coming. We are going to talk about acrylic. I'll see you in a few weeks. In the meantime, thank you for listening and knitting with me for a bit. If you'd like to support the show, check the show notes for ways to make that happen. Special thanks to my patrons, Knit New Haven and Morehouse Farm, for sponsoring the podcast. The show notes are also where you will find any links to anything I mentioned in the show. Be sure to check those out. Find me on my social media accounts as I Thought I Knew How, except on Twitter, where it's just Thought I Knew How. The groups on various platforms are all called I Thought I Knew How Podcast. Until next time, may you be blessed with stitches that never drop, yarn without joins, and plenty of time to knit.